British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
Good afternoon and welcome to your cast to 2 o'clock. My name is Grace Chan. Vancouver's jazz scene continues to thrive despite the hurdles it's faced during the COVID-19 pandemic. Reporter Emily Deneen has more to the story.
Jazz has been a big part of Vancouver's history. With many jazz clubs all around, people pick and choose their favorites. Tim Rayner, owner of Infidels Jazz, explains what happens when people see their favorite venue close down.
Is when that jazz club that you love closes, then you kind of think that that means that the jazz scene is doing poorly. My wish is that people didn't get frustrated when their one particular club that they loved went away, because there's another one in the neighborhood over.
Rayner continues to say that live music is something that will never go away. Emily Deneen, BCIT's The Crow.
Surrey Mounties say a woman has been charged for a weekend stabbing in the city. A report of a pedestrian being struck was made at 2:15 a.m. Saturday. The woman they found was suffering from stab wounds and was taken to the hospital for life-threatening injuries. A 36-year-old suspect was arrested nearby and charged with aggravated assault and assault with a weapon. The BC government announced that it will be building more than 1,600 homes for Indigenous peoples on and off reserve. Housing Minister Ravi Kahlon says that the new homes are part of ongoing reconciliation work to ensure Indigenous people have access to resources and services to thrive in their communities. What is new and exclusive on BCIT's campus this year is a coffee vending machine offering drinks at low costs. Reporter Lauren Achille explains why this is a good resource for students.
Linda Zhang, Strategic Partnership and Customer Relations for G&A Robot, says prices for beverages has increased since the COVID-19 pandemic.
Lower-income groups, as well as students, have felt the impact more intensely.
According to the Coffee Association of Canada, Canadians drink more coffee than tap water. Zhang believes it's important for students to have access to cheaper drink prices, while she adds a major factor of the pricing is the robotic aspect. And that's why students could pay as little as $1.99 for iced coffee. Lauren Achille, BCIT's The Crow.
A judge at the BC Supreme Court has ordered 7-Eleven Canada to pay a woman after tripping on a pothole and breaking her ankle in a convenience store parking lot. This led to a succession of cascading injuries in which she has not yet recovered from. This has led her to have to miss multiple months of work. 7-Eleven denied liability for the injuries, but the judge demanded the company to pay her $907,363. Fortis BC Energy is asking for proposals from energy suppliers who they believe can help increase the power available for customers in the southern interior. The utility is searching for power providers who have experience building projects and are focused on developing innovative, lower carbon, and renewable energy sources. The Vice President of Energy Supply and Resource Development says that the company is striving to match the need for more energy in the region. This surplus of energy will also create new jobs. The Missouri Supreme Court has ruled that abortion rights measure will be on Missouri's November ballot. This ruling lets voters have a chance to weigh in on whether or not to restore abortion rights in the state. Some Republican state lawmakers and abortion opponents sued to remove the measures because they think voters were not informed about the list of abortion laws it could repeal. This proposed constitutional amendment guarantees the right to an abortion until fetal viability. The KETV television station reports that one suspect is in custody after a teen got critically. That is all for your afternoon cast at 2. My name is Grace Chen from BCIT's The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow. This is 1680 The Crow, and you're listening to our feature presentation.
Jazz music has been around since the early 20th century. Originally coming from African American communities, this music quickly caught on. With big bands stepping onto the scene in the 30s, jazz music has kept growing. Vancouver's first jazz club opened in the 50s and was named The Cellar. The Cellar was underground and featured artists from the Lower Mainland and nearby areas in the United States. Nowadays, Vancouver is a hub for smaller artists to perform their music. However, it can be difficult to promote themselves. Tim Raynor owns Infidels Jazz, which promotes and hosts jazz events in Vancouver. He has been in this industry for over 30 years and was introduced to this music by his band teacher. Jazz has been a lifelong passion for Tim, and he continues to show it in his everyday work. I met with Tim at a local Vancouver cafe and jazz club.
I fell in love with jazz in junior high school, which was a long time ago. And for me, it was starting to learn how to play the drums. And I had a band teacher who was also a drummer, and so he made me recordings of people like Buddy Rich, who was a famous jazz drummer, and Louis Belson, who was another famous jazz drummer. And I just got hooked right away, and so I started listening to big band music from the 30s and 40s, but then very quickly got into people like Miles Davis and John Coltrane and Sonny Rollins, and I've been hooked ever since. I thought for a while that I would be, that I would try to be a professional jazz drummer, and then I realized that you need talent for that, and I don't really have any of that. But I've been involved with music business related stuff for many years, and so it's just a combination of interests and skills and luck, as you said before. And I think because the last several years has been so exciting to see the passion that people have for, I'll say jazz, but really for live musical experiences is what it really comes down to. And it's a way to connect people with each other that's super unique, and I think we've grown and developed a world that is incredibly complicated and maybe a little more distant from each other than I think any of us really wanted it to be. And so there's nothing that connects people more than bringing them into a room together. So for me, seeing that, there's a lot of doom and gloom in the media about, live music isn't doing well, or jazz isn't doing well, or these things aren't doing well. And that's kind of true in that big touring things aren't doing well because those things cost a lot of money. But the demand isn't any less. In fact, it might even be more than before COVID. And so keeping things small, keeping things grassroots, keeping things community oriented without bossing people around, just providing opportunities, that has proven to be our secret sauce, basically. And it's something that the more I do and the more successes that we've had, they're all very little successes, right? It's not like we're selling out Rogers Arena or anything remotely like that, but those things are easy to get excited about. When you see people happy, when you see even 30 to 50 people come out from different parts of the Lower Mainland to one venue to share an experience, it's pretty hard not to get excited about that.
I'm guessing you also provide some people to join, because if they had to do this by themselves, they might not have the success that they have. Whereas when you advertise it online or on Facebook, you get more people.
Yeah, it's if you're a musician and if you're putting on shows, you have to usually, especially a jazz musician, has to do most of the work herself. And that gets very hard, especially if you're wanting to do more shows, multiple shows in a month. You have to continually convince people how great you are and that you want people to come. And that can get discouraging because nobody wants to go and tell everybody how great they are all the time. Even the ones that are really great don't really want to do that. And I think what Infidels provides is a third party telling customers, telling jazz music fans, telling music lovers about all this great stuff that's happening that maybe they didn't know before. And so it's a lot easier to have me tell you how great she is than her constantly telling you. So, because it's not me, I don't care. You can like her or not; it doesn't matter. But if you have that known third party, and the term for that historically is gatekeeping, and that's something that I struggle with all the time. I don't really want to be in that role, but I think if you can keep that gate open as wide as possible and are constantly inviting people in, I think it's okay. So when I started this, the idea wasn't to be a gatekeeper, but that's kind of where it's kind of become. But again, if you keep that gate wide open, I think it's okay. For me, jazz as a music is really important, but I fell in love with the culture of it at the same time. So that African American tradition of this combination of blues and swing and marching music, and it all became this own unique thing that grows and changes all the time. Jazz today does not sound like jazz did in the 1930s or in the 40s or in the 50s or even 20 years ago. It changes all the time, and that's not really a bug, that's a feature. That's kind of the point of it. So
like you said, you started jazz when you were really young, so that change must have been pretty cool to see. And what's one of the biggest things that you recognize from this change? Have you seen a change in the community and how it's grown together?
yes, I would say so. I think that, for example, jazz, like a lot of endeavors, is traditionally a male-dominated music. And if you were a woman in the 30s and 40s or 50s or 60s or 70s who loved that music and wanted to get in, your path was as a singer. There wasn't many options if you wanted to do something else. So if you were a great trombonist or a great saxophonist or a great drummer, you might not have had, or you wouldn't, I shouldn't say might not, wouldn't have had real opportunities for success. Seeing that change over the last 20 years, and it's very slow and very gradual, and there's so much more work to be done, has probably been the most exciting thing for me. The fact that quite often, some of the best albums that come out every year are by women. In the scene here, we have several extremely talented women who are successful band leaders and have Juno nominations and are respected. And but again, even that is slow. It's not where it should be, and but there's a path forward, which there wasn't very recent, until fairly recent.
And then, what are some steps that the Vancouver community can take to open the door for more women to get into jazz and for more women to have these opportunities?
That's a good question. I think that recognizing that the more types of people we have in this music is always going to be positive. And it's not just positive because people say it's positive. It's positive because when you have more women or more trans people, or more as many different kinds of people from different backgrounds as possible, the audiences get bigger. That's what people don't talk about. So there's always going to be people that respond when they see people like them on the bandstand. So the more of those people that you can see, you're going to want to come and see those shows. So it's honestly simple economics. It's providing audiences with something that they don't necessarily have right now. And so making people realize that it's not just good for that one person, it's good for everybody, because more people will come. Don't worry about it.
Tim says that the passion shown in jazz music will continue on from now until forever. Emily Deneen, BCIT's The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.